Hi everyone, this is Dan Mumm with the Mumm Group here with your weekly market update for the Vegas real estate market. In the last 7 days, we saw a total of 1,031 new listings come on the market and 671 which sold. Our total inventory has stayed remarkably almost exactly the same for the last few months. It's hovering right around 10,000 homes for sale. That's remained pretty much completely unchanged. Also, the amount of demand that we've had, if you look at the number of homes sold in the last week, that number has also remained extremely consistent in the 700 to 800 home range, depending on the week. What we're seeing in the market, two things that are worth noting. One is that homes that are under improved, meaning that they're not according to the market standard as far as their condition, how they show, how clean they are, the upgrades inside. Homes that are below the market standard in that regard, they're getting penalized very severely. So if a home needs, let's say, $20,000 of cosmetic work, paint, carpet, some cabinet touch-ups, etc. You don't adjust $20,000 on price, you adjust probably $30,000 to $40,000 on price. There's a lot of reasons for this. Buyers perceive this work to be very cumbersome. They're already paying very high prices in their eyes on top of high interest rates. And then so to spend the extra money out of pocket, a lot of people just don't have that liquidity. Also, people have misconceptions about how much work costs with how much inflation there's been and how expensive things are to get done. When buyers see a home that needs paint, the numbers that they have in their head for how much it'll cost to repaint the house are probably not favorable compared to what you think it might cost. So that's one really big factor. Another really big factor that we're seeing is accessibility. This is always really the case in a high inventory market, but accessibility to showing listings is really a big factor, and this was not the case at all 4 or 5 years ago. But now the way it works is that buyers have a lot of options in general to choose from in the Las Vegas market. This doesn't apply across the board, of course. Certain segments of the luxury market, certain single-family home markets, they're doing really well and this doesn't apply. But in general, in the aggregate, there is a lot of competition compared to what we've seen in the past. So what this means is for buyers, when they put in their parameters for the type of home that they want, they see a list of 50 homes for sale that meet the criteria that they want. They have plenty to choose from. So they actually have an issue trying to narrow that list down. And so if there's any hurdles or obstacles to your home, in the eyes of the buyer's agent, that home is getting removed from the list first. This sounds crazy, but this is actually the way that it works. So if your home has an expensive solar assumption, if your home has a tenant that makes it very difficult to show, if there's some extreme restrictions on when they're able to see the house, they don't even look twice at it, they just move on. And again, it seems a little bit crazy, and it's hard for sellers to believe who are coming from a market 4 years ago where it was really the polar opposite, but that is really the case now. Not only that, this is really more of a normal market. This isn't even really an unusual or a bad market. It's just really what's considered a normal market. And again, this is something for a lot of people that's very hard to understand if you were used to the way things have been done in the past 5 to 6 years. But if we're looking at historical averages, this is really the way a normal market operates. So there are ways to overcome every one of those challenges that I just mentioned. If you are in one of those scenarios, whether it's your home needing a lot of work, you have a tenant in place that's making it difficult, feel free to reach out to me because we can talk about that and figure out what the best path is forward. But you just want to make sure you're very careful about it, because if you're using the same approaches that you were using 6 years ago or 5 years ago, you're going to start running into some pretty severe problems, and you would get very severely penalized by the market in today's market. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you next week.